no Gundam merchandise is more important to its bottom line than Gunpla. Short for Gundam plastic models, Gunpla are just that. Plastic model kits that you assemble to create mobile suits from various Gundam series. They vary in scale, complexity, and price, and are quite popular worldwide, even removed from the popularity of Gundam's television series. And those series do ultimately exist to sell Gunpla. The more popular, compelling, and cool the series and its mecha are, the hope is that you will then be inspired to purchase them in Gunpla form. So, naturally, the idea arose. If Gunpla is the point, why not make a Gundam series where Gunpla is the point? This is not a new concept. As far back as 1982, the manga Plamo Kyoshiro pioneered the concept of kids battling using their own custom Gunpla. But it took until 2010's model suit Gunpla builders, beginning G, for the concept to make the jump to animation. The various Gunpla-related series neither have an interconnected continuity, or even much in the way of uniquely developed settings beyond being nebulously in the near future. That's not really the point. Instead, there's something of a conceptual evolution between the different series. Beginning G took the idea of Gunpla battling started with Plamo Kyoshiro and built a short OVA around it as part of the 30th Gundam anniversary. It's unremarkable, obnoxious even in its performative devotion to Gunpla, except as a building block for what followed. See, it's the Build series that took the concept of an anime focused on Gunpla and really ran with it. Leveraging nostalgia, compelling interpersonal narratives, cool combat, and by being just plain fun, Sunrise managed to create something that stands all on its own. I'm going to focus here on one permutation in particular, Gundam Build Fighters. Build Fighters, its direct sequel Build Fighters Try, as well as its various specials and spin-offs, are not trying to tell a story with deep philosophical meaning, or any type of consequential stakes. It has one thing to say. Gunpla, and Gundam by extension, are cool. You should buy some. The Build Fighter series are basically shonen sports anime, set in a version of our world where Gundam is the singular unifying global cultural touchstone. Build Fighters follows Sei Iori, a young Gunpla builder whose parents own a model store. One day, he meets an odd red-headed foreigner named Reiji, who somehow has never even heard about Gundam, let alone the latest global craze, Gunpla battling. In the sport of Gunpla battling, players use custom Gundam models to battle in holographic arenas. When exposed to Plavsky particles by the Gundam battling system, Gunpla are capable of moving and using their weapons as if they were real. Build quality, loadout, and customization all affect the performance of Gunpla in battle, which, combined with the fact that damage suffered by the Gunpla in-game being real, makes Gunpla building incredibly important. Sei is a Gundam aficionado and a masterful builder, but is sorely lacking in battling talent. Fortunately for him, it turns out Reiji is a battling genius. The two team up, with Reiji fighting using Sei's customized Gunpla, the Build Strike Gundam. Together, they aim to win the Gunpla Battle World Championship. Along the way, they'll meet foes from across the world, learn more about themselves and the depths of Gunpla, and even discover the secrets behind the Plavsky particles that make Gunpla battling possible. Now, obviously, these stakes are considerably lower than your average Gundam series, and it can be a bit banal in its adherence to standard anime tropes. Like, for example, there is a combination beach/onsen episode that goes roughly as one would expect. But then said episode wraps up with them defeating onsen menacing Yakuza in a Gunpla battle. See, the lowered stakes allow them to make a Gundam series that operates more as a comedy. The humor has a good balance of overblown melodrama played for laughs, fish out of water jokes, and copious Gundam references, cameos, and in-jokes. For example, there's considerable joke real estate devoted to the fact that Mr. Rawl, the friend of the Yori family and Gunpla coach, is a reoccurring major character. He's just Ramba Ral from the original Gundam series. He just shows up. He's great. This ridiculousness continuously escalates with Gunpla martial arts, Gunpla mafiosos, evil Gunpla research institutes, and even Gunpla super soldiers all showing up, and all played completely straight. Gunpla referees arrest people for Gunpla crimes. The whole premise is plain ridiculous, and it knows it. And yet, it does take Gunpla very seriously. There's this notion that Gunpla is this singular, profound craft that exceeds all others, so long as you're having fun, which is itself ridiculous, yes, especially when you remember that the show's whole point is to sell Gunpla. But it does amp up the stakes and character motivation beyond just, winning is good. Look, it is easy for people to point at a series like Build Fighters and go, well, nobody's gonna die, so nothing that happens matters. Which, no, because the cast is great, and the stakes, while certainly less lethal, are personally meaningful to them. There is an odd disconnect between it and the Gundam series it draws from, but the message that having fun being what matters is by no means a bad one. In a way, it's the Gundam series closest to G Gundam. So if you're itching for something that's even vaguely similar to that, this is probably the closest you're going to get. Build Fighters Try is Build Fighters' direct sequel set 7 years later, and it makes that G Gundam comparison even more explicit. It follows a middle school Gunpla battling club looking to win the Japan-wide tournament for under 19-year-olds, this time fighting in a 3v3 team format. Fine premise, but in execution, it's kind of just a worse version of Build Fighters. It's much more surface-level tropey, has a worse cast, and spends way too much time on paltry sitcom-level romance. It has its moments, and it's certainly watchable if you enjoy and want more Build Fighters, but it is far from necessary. So, all in all, is Build Fighters worth watching? Yeah, I'd say so. It doesn't require any pre-existing Gundam knowledge to enjoy it, but you'll have a better time if you can pick up on all the Gundam cameos and goofs. Detached from Gundam, it's just a fun shonen sports anime about two friends competing in a futuristic fighting game tournament scene. It's probably not a particularly good introduction to Gundam, but also, it's fine. Look, I'd be bummed if the build concept completely replaced the more consequential Gundam series of the past. It's just not the same. But, as a thing unto itself, it's good. The two can certainly coexist. Next time. Hey, wait a minute. Didn't I already do a video on the Universal Century? What's going on here? What do you think of Build Fighters? Is the proliferation of Gunpla-based anime an existential threat, or just a fun thing all on its own? Got any good Gunpla lately? Share your thoughts in the comments.